Hey guys, it's Miss Bailey. Today's Wednesday and it's May the 6th. It's about 1 o'clock. Recording a short little video. I've done a couple other videos, but I know people were still saying they were having a lot of problems with adding, subtracting fractions and mixed numbers with unlike denominators. So the first one I'm going to do is an example that's wrong. It's what not to do. But it's what I'm seeing on some of the work that's being posted on Seesaw. So here's our first example. We have 2/3, and we're going to add to that 1/4. So 2/3 plus 1/4. And I have a fraction circle colored as an example. So maybe visually having some sort of picture will help. So I've got 2/3. And here my circle is divided into 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. That's my denominator. And I've colored 2 of the 3 parts. That's my numerator. 2 out of 3, colored 2 out of 3. 2/3. Okay, my next fraction that I'm adding is 1/4. So I've got the same size circle. This time it's cut into 4 parts. So that's my denominator. And I've shaded 1 out of 4. So 1 out of 4, 1/4, 1 out of 4, 1/4. And now I'm going to add them. Okay, so we know that these denominators are not the same. They're not alike. They're not like denominators. So what is a common mistake is we'll add to my numerator plus 1, my second numerator, and we'll get 3. And then another common mistake is someone will add and let me erase that. Wrong or bad. Put it in a different color. I have a denominator of 3. And I'm going to add 4. Thank you. And 3 plus 4 is 7. And then someone will put a 7 down here. So they get 3/7. And here I've shaded, same size circle, I've shaded 3, 1, 2, 3 out of 7. Well, you can see if these were pizzas and I had this much pizza here, 2/3, and then I add another 1/4, if I were to put that over here, it's not going to be this. It's going to be a lot bigger than 3/7. So that is why doing it this way will get you the wrong answer. So I'm going to make it really fat and put a big old X. Wrong. So if you do it that way, you're doing it wrong. And I would rather you not do it at all, because all you're doing when you practice it the wrong way is practicing the wrong answer and the wrong way to do it. All right, so I'm going to erase that. And I'm going to scroll down to the next page. And we're going to do it the right way. Okay, so this is the right way. So again, I have the same 2 fractions. I have 2/3, and I'm adding to that 1/4. I have my circle shaded, 2 out of 3 shaded, 1 out of 4 shaded. I have unlike denominators, so I cannot add them the way they are because 3/7 is not the right answer. So I'm going to need to find a common denominator. And we say the lowest or least common denominator because that way it makes it more simplified at the end. We don't have to simplify multiple times. So how do I find a common denominator? Well, I can't just pick any number. I need to list the multiples of the denominators, which in this case are 3 and 4. So I'm going to list the multiples down here underneath of 3 and 4. What are multiples? Multiples sounds like multiply. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 1. That's 3. I'm going to multiply 3 times 2. That's 6. I'm going to multiply 3 times 3. 9. If you don't know your multiplication facts, you can do tally marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can use your fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's lots of ways you can find the answer if you don't know your multiplication facts. But like we said, if you memorize them, it makes all of this a lot easier in the long run. All right, so I've done some multiples of 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. I'll do one more. 3 times 5 is 15. Okay, now I'm going to list the multiples of 4. Again, 4 times 1, 4. 4 times 2, 8. 4 times 3, 12. 4 times 4, 16. Okay, so we're looking for the smallest multiple that they have in common that is the same. And so hopefully you've noticed, here's a 3. No, there's no 3s here. 6. No 6s. 9. Nope, 9 won't work. 12. 12 is the lowest common multiple of 3 and 4. There are other common multiples, but we want to find, again, the smallest or lowest one because that makes it easier when we get our answer. We don't have to simplify as much. Okay, so I'm going to use 12, my lowest common multiple, as my new denominator. Okay, so I'm not going to add 2/3 plus 1/4. I'm going to add two fractions that both have a denominator of 12. So I'm going to erase these multiples down here just so I have room to write. And I know that I'm going to make 1/4 into an equal fraction that has a denominator of 12. And I'm going to make 2/3 into an equal fraction that has a denominator of 12. Okay, well, how do I do that? It's not magic. We have to just stop and ask ourselves, when we listed our multiples down here, 3 times what number made 12? 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4 makes 12. 3 times 4 makes 12. Well, to keep these fractions equal, 2/3 and something over 12, I have to multiply this numerator, 2, times the same number that I multiplied down here. Same number I'm going to multiply up here. So I did 3 times 4 gave me 12. Now I'm going to do 2 times 4, and that equals 8. So 8/12 is equal to 2/3, and you can see it in the pictures. Here I have a fraction circle, same size circle, divided into 12 equal parts. I shaded 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 12. 8 out of 12, same amount as 2 out of 3. How did I find that? It wasn't magic. I had to list my multiples down here, and then I found that 12 was the lowest common multiple. Now I'm going to do the same thing with 1/4. I need to change it to a fraction, something over 12. 4 times what number will make 12? Go back to your multiples. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. So I have to do 4 times 3 to get 12. To keep these fractions equal, if I do 4 times 3 in the denominator, I need to do 1 times 3 in the numerator. 1 times 3 is 3. So I've changed 1/4 into 3/12. If you look at the pictures, this circle is divided into 12 equal parts. I've shaded 3 out of 12, and it's the same amount as 1 out of 4. They are equal. But now I can add because I have same denominator, and my answer will have the same denominator. 12, 12, 12. Not going to add the denominators. 24 would not be right. We never add the denominators. 12, 12, 12. Same, same, same. But I am going to add my numerators. So 8 plus 3 is 11. And if you notice in this circle, I shaded 8/12 here and 3/12 here. And how much do I have shaded altogether? 11/12. And that would be the right answer. If I add 2/3 to 1/4, I get 11/12. If you get 3/7, because you add 2 plus 1 is 3, and 3 plus 4 is 7, 3/7 would not be the right answer. That's a big old no. You have to find a common denominator. And to find those, you need to list the multiples and find the lowest common multiple. Okay, I'm going to erase that. And I'm going to do 2 more examples without the circles, but the same process. So the next one I'm going to do is a subtraction. I've got 3/4, and I'm going to subtract 2/5. I am not going to do 3 minus 2 is 1, and then 4 minus 5. First of all, 4 minus 5 is a negative number. We haven't taught negative numbers. But second of all, that's not going to get you the right answer. We need to find a common denominator. How do we find a common denominator? We list the multiples. So I'm going to list the multiples of 4. I'm going to do 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. I don't know what Teddy's doing back there. He's kind of going crazy. 4 times 5 is 20. Okay. I'm going to stop there. Usually 5 multiples is enough. 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, 4 times 4, 4 times 5. You might have to list more, but 5 is a good number to start. Now I'm going to do the list the multiples of 5. 5 times 1. You can count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20. So if you don't have your multiplication facts memorized, just count by 5s. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, maybe you've already seen the common multiple. Lowest common multiple is 20. So I'm going to have to change these two fractions into equivalent fractions with a denominator of 20. So this will be something over 20, and this will be something over 20. And remember, we are subtracting, because I know sometimes we forget to look at the signs, and we add when we're supposed to subtract or subtract when we're supposed to add. So this is subtracting. Now, how do I get from 2/5 to something over 20? I can't just pick a number. We have to multiply. So 5 times what number made 20? Well, let's go back down here. 5 times 1, 5 times 2, 5 times 3, 5 times 4 was 20. 5 times 4 is 20. So now I have to do the same exact thing in my numerator. 2 times 4 is 8. So 8/20 is equal to 2/5. If I had circles, I would be able to shade and show you how they're the exact same amount. Here I need to change 3/4 into some number over 20. 4 times what number makes 20? Well, let's go back down here. 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, 4 times 4, 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 5 is 20. So I'm going to do the same thing in my numerator. 3 times 5 is 15. Now I have the same denominators. Same, and my answer will also have the same. Something over 20. I'm not going to subtract the denominators and get 0 in the denominator. Same. 20, 20, 20. But I can subtract the numerator. So I'm going to subtract 15 minus 8 is 7. 7/20 is the right answer. 7 over 20. I cannot get the right answer if I'm adding or subtracting fractions or mixed numbers until I find a common denominator. It's not hard. It just takes a couple of steps, and it does take some practice. So watching the video is good, but then you'll need to practice and repeat the steps that I just did on your paper on your own. The only way to get better at this is to practice it, like anything else we have to do. Professional ball players don't just go out there and do it. They have practice. Professional artists, they don't just pick up a pen, start drawing, paint. They practice. So anything that we do, we need to practice to get better. All right, so the last one I'm going to do, this one is a mixed number. That means there are whole numbers and there are fractions. And we're going to add them. But first we have to find a common denominator. So let me erase all the mess above. And I'll scroll down a little bit. So this time, I am going to add 3 1/3 plus 1 1/2. We have whole numbers and fractions. The fractions, again, need to have a common denominator, so we cannot add them until we find a common denominator. The whole numbers are not going to change. So I can go ahead and write, if I want to, I can put a 3 over here because 3 is not going to change. 1 is not going to change. And I am adding. But I am going to need to change 1/3 and 1/2 into fractions that have the same denominator, because if I add 1 plus 1 and get 2, and 3 plus 2 and get 5, 2/5 is not the right answer, and that would be a big old X wrong. So I'm going to follow the steps and list my multiples of 3. This denominator right here, I'm going to list the multiples. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. I could keep going, but I'm going to stop. Now I'm going to list the multiples of 2. This denominator right here, I'm going to list the multiples right here. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. Maybe you already see the lowest common multiple. 6 and 6. I have a 6 here, and I have a 6 here. So that is my new denominator. I have to find a common denominator before I can add the fractions. So I have to change 1/3 into something over 6. 3 times what number made 6? 3 times 1, 3 times 2 makes 6. So I have to do the same thing in my numerator. 1 times 2 is 2. So 2/6 is equal to 1/3. I've changed 3 and 1/3 into 3 and 2/6. But I have not changed the value. They are equal. That's why there's an equal sign right here. Now I have to change 1/2 into something over 6. 2 times what number is 6? 2 times 3. Right here. 2 times 1. Oops. 2 times 2, I forgot the 4. Whoops. And 2 times 3 is 6. I have to do the same thing in my numerator. 1 times 3 is 3. So I did 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. 3/6 is equal to 1/2. 1 and 3/6 is equal to 1 and 1/2. Now I can add. I have same, and I'm going to keep my denominator the same. 6, 6, 6. Same, same. I cannot add 2 plus 3 here. That would be wrong. The denominator is not 5. I'm not going to add 6 plus 6 here and get 12. That would be wrong. The denominator is not 12. Same. So I'm going to write a 6. And I can add 2 plus 3 is 5. So 2/6 plus 3 more 6 is 5/6. If I had added my fractions the way they are over here and gotten 2/5, that would be wrong. 5/6 is the right fraction. 3 plus 1, now I can add my whole numbers. The whole number 3 plus the whole number 1 is the whole number 4. So my correct answer to 3 and 1/3 plus 1 and 1/2 is 4 and 5/6. This is the right answer. If I had just added these fractions without getting a common denominator, 1 plus 1 is 2, 3 plus 2 is 5. And then added my whole numbers. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 and 2/5 is the wrong answer. That is wrong. That's a big old X. You have to find a common denominator. Same, same, same. It's not hard, but it does take a few steps because you have to find a common multiple before you can add. That's all I can do to explain it. You guys will just have to practice a little bit on your own. The only thing I can tell you is it's not hard. It gets easier with practice, but you will use fractions in every single math class you ever take from here on out. So it's to your benefit to learn how to do this because you will have to do it next year and you'll have to do it the year after that, and the fractions just don't go away. So please practice. Re-watch the video if you get stuck while you're doing your work. Watch the video again and go through the steps. If you have an older sibling at home or a parent that can help you a little bit, that would be great. But just follow the steps and you'll be okay. Okay? Just like a recipe. Just follow the recipe, follow the steps, and you'll get the right thing at the end. Okay? All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you soon.